Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trident Talks, where we're focusing on putting a spotlight onto companies that are attending RSA in a few weeks' time. And today I'm delighted to welcome Chris Pierson, founder and CEO of BlackCloak. Chris, how you doing?
Hey Charlie, how are you doing? Good to be here.
I'm good, good. We're getting busy on the run up to RSA. For sure, same for you.
You know it. Super exciting times. A lot of meetings, a lot of people to go see, a lot of events to go see. But I'm looking forward to it. But that run up is always very cram packed.
We said just before this, we've always got to be in multiple places at one time. So there's never enough time in the day, right? Um, so, Chris, those that don't know you, would you like to give a very quick overview into who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely happy to do so. I'm Chris Pierson. I'm the CEO founder of BlackCloak. For BlackCloak, look, we are digital executive protection. We've pioneered this entire sector to go ahead and say, hey, if you want to protect your corporate executives, your C-suite, your board of directors, the executive leadership team, those people that are very, very meaningful, very high profile, very high targets for your organization and their families, and you want to protect them in their personal lives so that an attack there doesn't transcend back into the company, doesn't impact the company from a reputational perspective, a financial perspective, even a data breach perspective, as we saw with LinkedIn and LastPass. We are the team that has a uniquely built platform from the ground up to protect them so that a threat or harm out there in their personal life doesn't come back to bite you at the company.
I love the sound of that. It's something I'm passionate about. So I speak with executives on a daily basis, and it's all about, okay, work, tell me about the business, tell me about the business. Or I had another podcast before, and it's who protects the protectors, right? I guess it's you guys.
It is. I mean, it is. We seem to have this like philosophy that says, well, okay, in terms of the employees at work, we protect them and their computers and email and servers and all the rest. And that's great. And for the executives, we'll have a little bit of an amped up program to protect them at work, a lot more on anti-phishing and business email compromise or their different travel and travel itinerary and stuff like that. And same for the board, they got a lot of sensitive information and stuff. But we seem to have, me as a former two-time CISO, it's like I identify with this, but we seem to believe that the four corners of the work environment are where the cyber criminal, where the cyber adversary will stop. And it's just not true. We've seen this time and time again. Probably for the past decade, we've seen it, maybe even more, back to 2012 with LinkedIn, the past 13 years, so to speak, where there's real knack for cyber criminals, nation states targeting homes, targeting homes of engineers, homes of other key people electronically, but then also physically. Unfortunately, we saw with really bad circumstances how executives can't remove their work life from their personal life with the murder of Brian Thompson in New York City, where, right, once again, people were unable to separate him as a person, him as an individual, from him as a corporate CEO. And so we've seen that increase on the physical side and the cyber side. And quite honestly, the way to solve it is that convergence of the two. You got to bring them together. But we're the team with digital executive protection. We're the team that's going to go ahead and help be the relationship for the CISO, the CSO, for those executives in their personal lives.
That's brilliant. We did a roundtable before, and a few of the CISOs within that room basically said they're now seeking legal protections for themselves as well as the business, like in the boardroom, when they come to a breach, just for their own personal protection. And you're right in what you're saying. Attackers, they don't have any. There's no ethical line for them to cross. If there's a vulnerability, they'll exploit it. Um, and now that work has become life and life's become work for many people, it's wholly relevant. I mean, you guys have been going strong for well, about 8 years now, right?
Yeah, in our BlackCloak's in its eighth year of development, and really exciting times for us and the whole team. And I will say, really exciting times to be able to solve these hard problems. I mean, these are not easy problems to solve. It takes a platform, yep. It takes a team, yep. But it really takes the willingness to, in a bespoke fashion, become much more aware of what the actual problem is on a person by person by a basis. And it might be different for the executive and their husband, or the executive and their wife or significant other, by which it's really two solutions or three solutions. It's for that executive, for the significant other, and for their kids. And it's all different solutions and different things that have to be put in place to protect them to get that full comprehensive view. But I think that's what really drives our team, really drives the people to solve those hard problems.
You're making people's days of solving their problems. And it's being there for them, right? As I said, who protects the protectors? There's no one else in everyone's corner. So, um, what taking a step back, tell me about your past and then what led you to be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna create BlackCloak.
Yeah, I mean, I have about 30 years in cybersecurity. So started in the mid 90s, a few different things there. In 2002, I started a cybersecurity practice at a national law firm. Now it's part of Womble, so about 1,500 attorneys now. But it was cybersecurity and cyber liability. And this was a full year before data breaches ever started happening. But it was or before the laws. Data breaches were happening forever, but before the laws came on the books in 2003. And it was one of those things of, there has to be a business angle to this. There has to be a legal angle to this. There has to be a blending of technology with those in order to solve this problem. And so that was amazing, right? Amazing. About 5 to 6 years of working there. But I really wanted to go ahead and, once we saw the pattern starting, wanted to get ahead of it and solve it, right? No more fire extinguisher, no more reaction, no more just incident response. How do you actually solve it? And so for the Royal Bank of Scotland, for their US operations, I became the first ever chief privacy officer for them, heading up cyber and fraud and privacy and really bringing those into my remit. And then after that, two-time chief information security officer. I also did serve 11 years as a special government employee for DHS. But it was all of those things together, the confounding items in all there as to how are you going to go and attack my prior large corporate clients? And we saw the patterns. How are you going to attack the third largest bank in the world? How are you going to attack my company, my board, my executives, my VC firms? And I saw that from the unclassified world. I saw the same things in the classified world of targeting people in their personal lives. We saw it in LinkedIn breach 2012. Key engineer targeted at home. His home server was connected to work, and they rode the lightning on in. What is it? 10 years past then? 2012 with LastPass. Once again, a key engineer targeted at home. One of four key engineers, I believe, that had access into the LastPass master vault. Downloaded malware, got a keyboard logger on the computer. They logged in essentially as him or her, and were able to exfiltrate all those encrypted passwords vaults out. I mean, you have a realization, and you have some political stuff happening, you have some defense industrial stuff happening, you have some intelligence community stuff happening, all a realization of you got to that CISOs were powerless to actually prevent attacks on their executives, board members, and their families and their personal lives. You have to pay attention to the inside four walls of the company, privacy and legal reasons. But yet we figured this out. Like in healthcare, we figured this whole thing out. The company wants its people to do well, so they go ahead and contract with United, Humana, Blue Cross, whatever, right? They contract them to provide health benefits so that people are happy, healthy, safe, and their family is too. And we also figured it out with regard to executives and health benefits. Hey, the C-suite has the Mayo Clinic, whoop-de-doo physicals, right, where they're actually having that full thing, a full-fledged physical, executive physical once a year, and they have somebody on call 24/7, 365. So we figured this out in other areas: physical security, executive protection, right? We figured it out in air medical rescue. We figured it out in kidnap and rescue. We figured it out in high-end healthcare for executive teams, but we hadn't yet figured it out. How do you extend the protection without the company doing it? Right? The company is not the one doing the monitoring, not doing the one protecting. But how do you extend that protection through a partner that's only remit is their privacy and cybersecurity? And that's really what BlackCloak was able to engineer. I personally had the pain points and really, really big pain points. I couldn't solve it. I tried. I honestly tried when I was a CISO. I tried to solve it by stitching together a whole bunch of stuff. Can't do it. It's got to be purpose-built product and technology for this audience. It has to be concierge, and it has to be bespoke to each and every person. And it's got to holistically cover privacy and cybersecurity. The kind of the $9.99 of data broker removal type of stuff out there, insufficient, right? Here's a free, credit monitoring thing. Here you go, right? Once again, insufficient. These items cannot, in their totality, cover holistically all the privacy items, all the cyber items, all the home network items, all that concierge. And so as a result, I had to leave. I left to go ahead and create the company because I just couldn't find anything out there and I couldn't do it myself.
The way you just articulated that is brilliant because sometimes when you speak to companies, if you look at some really successful companies over the last 10, 15 years, they've solved something which on the back of it sounds simple. Like what? Yeah, that's easy. Cybersecurity, you're protecting the business, and the people within the business should be protected as well. But that there's a clear disconnect there, and this is kind of in the same vein. It sounds there's such a simple concept, but brilliant. Now, obviously, executing that and building a business going for 8 years, that's a completely different story. But um, I think that's testament to everything that you and the team are doing there.
It's funny you mention it. It is all due to a great team, all due to a great team, and really due to purpose-built technology, right? Got to be purpose-built technology with that team added on top. But that's the great thing. There are a lot of great ideas that have happened out there, and sometimes the simple, oh yeah, we can see that, but right, really sophisticated under the hood, which it is, but something that we enjoy tackling every day.
I love it. Chris, I'm very conscious of your time, and I could talk for hours around executive protection and trends we're seeing in the market. There is a really cool video on your website, actually, which there's some stats around number of infected devices in the household, number of households that got leaked passwords, all that stuff. Definitely
Oh,
recommend people taking a look. But a key reason for this podcast or video interview is to actually promote the fact you're at RSA. So, would you like to give some insight into what you're up to and who you're looking to speak with RSA?
yeah, absolutely. So, at RSA, there'd be a whole. What I love about RSA is that there's a lot of different dimensions to RSA. First and foremost, myself and probably about 15 other people from the BlackCloak team will be there in person. Everyone from our VP of product, chief marketing officer, our chief revenue officer, and everything in between. We'll be there actually doing a whole host of things. There's some really interesting people that you can talk to from our team, from our company. And so we urge everyone to follow us, to go onto LinkedIn to figure out how to go ahead and register for our suites, and make sure you're in the right meeting place at the right time, so you can talk to who you want to. So that's first and foremost. Second, we'll have some announcements, and we'll save those for the next week, maybe a little more, maybe a little closer. But we'll have some really, really exciting announcements about the marketplace and what we're doing. I'm really super proud of the team. And then third, one of the great things is going to be, right, a little bit extracurricular speeches here, right? So I'm going to be kicking off a series that will have 5 speakers following me, which is all about personal cybersecurity and privacy. This is all meant to go protect the greater audience at RSA. So, right, we're all busy protecting the company, whether it's from a compliance perspective, a legal perspective, a privacy perspective, cybersecurity perspective. We're all busy doing that. But now, how do we go ahead and put the brakes on things and say, whoa, as a result of things like, right, the United Healthcare murder of their CEO, as a result of things that are happening in the market, how do we think about protecting our own family, our elderly parents? How do we think about protecting our information and our privacy? And so I'll be kicking off a series on personal privacy and cybersecurity there at RSA. I think this is really revolutionary in terms of how RSA is thinking about it. A few years ago, they started a series that was more on mental health and wellness and making sure that let's face it, that folks in this industry are doing well. Right, always being blamed for a breach. You have a number of different high-profile incidents where CISOs have now been sued as a result of some of the breaches, and or regulatory action against them. And I think it was really, really, impressive at how forward-thinking RSA was around that topic of mental health. Similarly, in this vein, it is a RSA looking out for the good of the individual, the good of the CISO, their team, the folks that are in this industry, of saying, how can we go ahead and make this something where it is let's focus on you, let's focus on your families, let's focus on you morphing and taking some of those things from the corporate world and applying them in on the personal side of things. So I'm really, really proud to be partnered in with RSA on that. That's first and foremost. Second, we'll have a 2-hour learning lab. 2-hour learning lab that is all on third-party risk. So third-party risk, literally in terms of hardware, in terms of software. And so we'll have about 200 people in there. We'll break them up into, I think we're breaking up into 5 different groups. People representing legal and compliance and privacy, people representing cybersecurity, the business line executives, and in one case, marketing, in another case, the board. But we'll have those 5 groups, different tables of folks. It'll be Chatham House rule. So it's not something that will be broadcast. And we actually go to work together to actually think about how do we communicate risk, right? The inherent risk, the control, and the residual risk on third-party service providers in terms of software and hardware back to our executives, back to our board members, and all the rest. This is one of those great times where I'm able to take my prior life as an attorney, prior life as a chief privacy officer and chief information security officer, blend them all together. And with my partner, Jim Shreve there from his law firm, we're able to go ahead and pay attention to this from a holistic perspective, where it is both cyber and privacy and legal and compliance coming together to figure out how do you properly dimension this. So Jim and I will be talking about that, and we're looking super forward to it.
It sounds really interesting. It sounds like you're part of this big culture shift within security, which is brilliant. So I definitely recommend people coming along to attend this event. I'm sure all the details are on your website, etc. And if not, if they can't find information, I'm sure you're happy for them to reach out. So Chris, thanks so much for sharing, and we'll see you at RSA.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it, and good to chat with you.